Hi, I'm Douglas E. Welch, and this is our ongoing series, New Media Answers, for New Media Interchange at newmediainterchange.com. Now, if you're subscribed to the show, you're probably seeing something different. In fact, you're seeing something at all, which is in this show, we're actually starting to do some video versions of the New Media Answers show. We may also go back to doing audio, and we will also release this in audio. So, if you're only hearing us right now, check on the website, check in your iTunes, and you should find a video version of this show there as well. I am here with Tracy Pattin, as always.
Hello, everyone.
And we have taken a little break here at the end of 2008, but we're early in 2009 and ready to jump back into the whole new media world. So, Tracy, what do you want to talk about today?
Okay. Well, first, how do I look?
How's my hair? That's what I always say. How's my hair?
I mean, it's so interesting, Doug, to go from audio to video. I mean, I've done some video, but to take New Media Answers into the video realm is a whole different thing. And now you guys know what we actually look like.
Yeah. When I had to get on, I take the bus down here to West Hollywood where we record. And when I got up this morning, I actually had to think about, I can't just wear my crummy old cargo shorts and Hawaiian shirts that I normally wear when we record, because it's typically warmer here in LA. But I actually had to think about, looking at least moderately presentable to go in front of you. Now, I do want to say, though, don't overstress about the dress.
Okay.
The point is, we all have something unique to offer. It's not about how you look. Trust us.
Well, easy for me to say.
It's not about how you look. It is about what you have to say. And the other thing that video provides you, which I try to reinforce, the reason for doing video podcasts and video new media all the time is you can see these, you can see my hands, you can see my face, you can see my facial expressions. Video just conveys a lot more information.
And do you think, Doug, I mean, because for this first episode of our video, I thought we'd just talk about video, because I have a million questions for you, as I always do.
Well, I don't know if we have time for a million questions, but yes, go ahead.
Or 500,000.
500,000.
And so, I mean, first off, video is definitely, would you say, it's better than audio as far as getting people to come and view it?
It has its own place.
Okay.
I'm fond of saying podcasts find their own length. They also find their own style and their own media.
Okay.
The fact is, there are still lots of opportunities where audio is a preferable choice. For example, if you're in your car, you shouldn't be watching video in your car.
Right. Okay.
Now, yes, you can just turn the show on and not look at the screen. But the fact is, if it's just audio, it takes up less bandwidth, it takes up less space in your iPod or your other player, so on and so forth.
Okay.
So there's still reason to do audio. And in fact, I tend to release the audio of the shows I do video just for those people who maybe want to consume it in that way. Video, kind of going back to what I said earlier, conveys more information. It brings up the intimacy level even further, because we talk about audio podcasting being whispering in their ears.
Yes.
Well,
I love that.
This is whispering in their eyes, if you want to say that. You can see my facial expressions, you can see my gestures, you can see how I carry myself and my demeanor. You can see if my face is saying one thing and my words are saying another. So
first off then, Doug, how do we begin? Like watching today, when I watched Doug getting all set up and we moved some tables around to make sure that the lighting is good. And what are the very beginning things you need to do? Because on my site, Sizzle in the Middle, my goal for 2009 is to really get into a lot more video. But I find myself not doing it yet that much because it feels still a little overwhelming.
And it goes back to what we said before in past shows. The goal is to do it.
Yes.
The goal is not to do it perfectly. Perfection is great, but the fact is you have to do it before you can even get close to perfection.
Yeah.
So, yes, there are certain things you can think about. You can't see this, but you see these shutters behind us. We have another set in windows directly in front of us, so we just opened up a little bit to let the natural light in. If you don't have natural light or can't find a place where there's better natural light, then you're going to have to turn on some lights in the room or something. The fact is, it's not something to stress over.
Okay.
You're going to learn as you go along. You're going to shoot something out. Wow, that kind of looks bad. I look rather sallow. If you watch the new media tips that I do in my home office, which are designed to be quick and dirty, you'll see the lighting varies all over the place because it depends on what day I shoot, what time of day I shoot, and all this stuff. That's not your first worry. Okay. That's something to think about as you go on, and there's plenty of resources online, us included, that can teach you how to light your videos and do all sorts of stuff like that.
What resources would they be? Give a couple of examples.
Basically, do what I do, which is if I'm looking for specific information, I go video lighting podcast into Google and see what comes up.
And then is that how you get your expertise? I always want to ask the experts how they get their expertise.
That's certainly, if it's something I have no background in, Google is certainly the first place I look, because the first thing you have to do is get an overview. Okay. You have to say, well, what is this thing that I'm trying to research? What are they saying about it? Because what you get then are you get those immediate things of, don't use this type of light, don't use this type of positioning. I mean, I'm a theater guy. My degree is actually in theater from years ago. I know about key light, fill light, backlight. I learned all that in college.
And does that help you with this then?
Only in the most slightest of ways.
Okay.
Because I know that we have, that's our key light. This is our fill light, which is another window over here. Our backlight we've turned off because with video you don't want it to overwhelm us.
And you don't want backlight. So it's kind of similar to just taking a picture with digital cameras.
It's totally the same. Okay. And if you have an overwhelming bright background and a dark face, you're not going to see the person.
Okay.
That's easy. That's actually one of the biggest problems you face with video is being backlit. I still say people today trying to take, they're on Santa Monica Beach at sunset, trying to take their spouse's kid's picture with the sun behind them.
Yeah.
And they wonder why it's just a dark silhouette.
And they're not even looking at that.
You can't shoot into the sun. And that just, you learn little general rules like that.
And so I'm watching you today set up, you look in the monitor, so that's another good thing to do. So you do a little test run, and you look in the monitor, and you make sure you don't look too awful, which is always my worry.
Now, we have an advantage here today is we're using a standard 8mm digital camcorder. Nothing fancy. In fact, it's pretty aged in the realm of video cameras. The one advantage it has for us today is it has a screen, a viewfinder that we can turn around, so we can actually have a little monitor. So like the big guys on the news, we can actually see ourselves and make sure we're framed correctly, see how big our hand gestures are,
it's kind
stuff
of cool
like that.
To be looking at. It's not distracting. I don't find it distracting to be looking and seeing how we're framed as we're talking right now.
I think it's because it's smaller. It's only about this big, and so we can't see the detail. One thing I find in studios where you have the studio monitor, it gets a little intimidating. It's like being seated across from a mirror.
Yeah.
I have and I know I'm doing it, but if I'm in a room with a mirror, I'm constantly looking at myself.
Yeah.
And it's not narcissism, I don't think. It's basically
that's another show.
It's just we're not used to that. We're not used to seeing ourselves constantly. And so bigger monitors can actually, I think, give you that feeling of being more self-conscious, where this just tells us, we're framed okay,
we just know
and it looks okay, and the lighting looks good.
Okay, so from the lighting then, we've got the lighting, we've got the camera on the tripod, and you recommend a tripod, obviously, right? You've got to do tripod.
In our case, since we don't have a camera person, we have to have a tripod. And the fact is, no matter what you're shooting video-wise, even if you're out shooting raw on the street somewhere, you
really
want
have
a tripod.
To have that. Yeah, you can't just hold the camera like this.
Well, I mean, that's a certain style. But the point is, if you want to have video that is not what I call vomit video, and we've all seen it, typical family videos that are and you're like, I can't watch this or I'm going to throw up. Yeah. You need to have a stable positioning. And a tripod. And sometimes if I'm out shooting on the street or at a park or something, I'll have the tripod on the camera with the legs folded in, basically making it a monopod.
Right, I've seen people do that. Okay, yes.
And then I at least have some stability, but I'm not compromising my movement. I can pick up and turn and put it back down and shoot over here. Okay. And I can use it in that fashion. In some extreme cases, like shooting at night, I have actually taken my tripod, folded it down as small as it will go with the camera on top, placed the feet of the tripod in my belt buckle so that I'm still movable, but I have a more solid positioning for the camera, so I am getting less of that jerkiness. Yeah. And then you can go to the extreme, which is you can actually build or buy Steadicam-like rigs for your home cameras. And
what is a Steadicam rig? It's all this.
A Steadicam, if you watch any broadcast television these days, you've seen the Steadicam. It's that shot where the camera is basically, you're chasing, let's say it's a horror film, and you're chasing the young heroine down the hallway, and you're the point of view of the murder or whatever, and you basically feels like you're flying down the hallway. That's a Steadicam. Okay. It's a rig that isolates the camera from any body movement, so it appears like you're floating or you're flying.
So this is if you're recording yourselves like what we're doing. You're talking about if you're out there in the field and you're doing something else. You're doing whatever.
You're doing like a montage of something, of a process or a parade or some street event. It gives you that point of being there, but you don't get
You don't have
every
that.
bump doesn't give you that jerkiness. Now again, extreme level, although they're getting very, very cheap. And as I said, there's even some you can build yourself.
And so speaking of the tripod then, for those of us that are just going to be doing this seems to be such a standard setup with like YouTube. It's very YouTube-ish.
YouTube, I'd say, even goes below this. Typically, people are doing YouTube with shots like this. It's just a webcam, a little ball webcam sitting on top of their monitor or built into their laptop.
Okay.
Which, by the way, if you want some advice about shooting better videos when you're using the laptop camera, look at the last new media tip where I talk about that.
Okay. And so, and these tripods, I mean, when I went to get my tripod, I didn't have anyone helping me, so I just sort of had to guess. And I didn't want to pay $500 for a tripod.
They can get expensive.
Okay, here's one. It looks like it's the right one, and they're all standardized anyway, right? So
they're pretty much standardized. They're going to the fitting on top of a tripod is a standard size screw.
Okay.
That all cameras will still and video will accept.
Okay.
The one thing I noticed about yours, mine is a little heftier. It has a little more weight to it, which makes it heavier to carry, but it's a little more stable. If you're out in the weather, remember, wind can knock your camera over.
Okay.
So mine actually has a little hook on the bottom of the post where you can actually hang a weight to weight the tripod down when you're using it.
Okay.
Or just throw a weight of an old dumbbell or something across the little joint underneath there where all the legs come together, and that'll help it keep in place too.
Okay.
Again, kind of an extreme issue, but if you're out shooting raw out in public and out in the wind and the weather and everything else, that's the sort of thing that I've seen happen a lot.
Okay.
Someone has their camera cranked way high,
Yeah.
and the wind just catches it and just blows it over. You don't want to do that. You don't want to lose your equipment.
Okay, so now what about audio? Because we've got our lavaliers. These are lavaliers, right?
Yeah, this is a lavalier micro. This is a stereo lavalier.
And do you recommend right off the bat, because I was asking you today, rather than chancing using your camera as your audio, the built-in audio, you recommend this technique?
I recommend this mainly because the audio we're going to get off the camera out there, while listenable and usable, will sound hollow. It's going to get all the ambient sound of the room.
Okay.
This is close mic. It's going to have a much richer sound, a much deeper sound, and actually be clearer and more easily understood.
And so you record it separately.
You shouldn't have to do that. I have to do that because I'm old school and I've got old equipment. The one thing I tell people that they really want to get in any camcorder they buy, and that mine does not have, is a camcorder with an external mic input.
Okay. Yes.
That is an amazing bump up in your quality, because then instead of these microphones are running to a small little kind of lipstick sized recorder that we have on the floor here. In reality, we should have a line running back to the camera, plugged directly into the camera, so that I wouldn't have to do any syncing of this audio later. I would actually be recording it right on the tape with the video, and I would just bring it in and it would already be there.
And are the cameras pretty inexpensive that do that? I mean, they are, right?
Cameras these days are coming way down in price. I'm personally in the market right now to upgrade to an HD camcorder, but one of the things it's got to have is an external mic input. Another important reason for having external mics is then we could also make this a wireless unit. We could be wearing the typical MTV reality show wireless mics behind our back. The wireless receiver would be on the camera plugged directly into that port. Again, we could wander anywhere in the room and it wouldn't matter.
And that's another thing. So how can we do video where we don't have to just sit and talk? Is that difficult to do with just us, with not having all this?
No, you need a camera person.
You just need a camera person.
You need a camera person.
There's no way. Okay.
That's the only way to do it. I mean, I have done stuff where I've changed shots. Like we would be here, and then I would do a shot over there or a shot over there.
And then you have to edit.
And then you edit it together in the editing software. You can do that and be your own camera person. And I've done that before. It's more work. It's you can't do moving shots.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing the typical video blogger thing, which is hold the camera out here. Now, in my case, I can't do it with this camera because it simply does not have a wide angle enough lens. My arms aren't long enough. If I hold it here, my head fills the entire frame. You can't get far enough away from it.
Yeah.
The trick there, you put it on a pole.
So I was going to say, really?
Yeah, you put it on a pole, and again, with the belt buckle, and hold it out here and use it that way. I've seen, the whole thing about podcasting is doing it, and it's just doing it, and you figure out these. And the fact is, other people have already figured this stuff out. Independent filmmakers, 16mm filmmakers, Super 8 filmmakers, they've all figured this stuff out. That's why you go to Google and say, what am I looking for? And you're going to find stuff that's been either created for that and upgraded, or just plain created to do the type of stuff we're doing.
So in terms of the Google, and I love that, so the Google stuff we need to do are video lighting, right?
And actually,
just video lighting for podcasts.
No, just do lighting, because the fact is, lighting lighting instruction and lighting design is the same for theater, video, movies, whatever. There are subtle differences between it, but the fact is you have a key light, you have a fill light, you have a backlight, you might have a
I love we've learned this.
Halo light.
Key light, fill light, backlight. Key light is the light. I'm just going to review.
Key light is your main source.
It's this light coming through here.
Typically arranged at a 45-degree angle to the subject.
Okay. And backlight is here.
Or anything behind you.
And fill light is anything else.
Fill light is typically, again, 45 degrees to the other side of you.
Okay. Okay.
At reduced intensity.
Okay.
That's why this side of my face is probably brighter than this side. But by having that division, you see my whole face. You see the sculpting of the face. You see the rounding of the face.
Okay.
And the neat thing about backlight used properly is you don't want it directly behind you. You want it above and behind you. And if you've ever seen a stage play, especially anything Broadway related or anything at that quality level, you don't probably notice it, but if you watch the actors, they seem to be popping out from the backgrounds. They become three-dimensional outside the sets. That's because they're being backlit from above usually at a fairly steep angle, and they're also being lit directly from the sides. And what it does is it sculpts the body again, and it pops them out of the set. If you didn't have that lighting, it's almost like, and I've had this happen, it's almost like cartoon characters on a flat background. There's no sculpting, and so they don't look real. Now, in some cases, some plays you may want that effect, but typically you don't. You want the actors to pop off.
You know, I'm just thinking right now about the fact that here you were doing all this theater stuff so many years ago, and would you ever think you'd be sitting here talking about the whole new media stuff, which didn't really exist then?
This is the type of thing I try to explain to people is for the first time ever, we have the ability not just to do a show, not just to write a song, not just to write a movie or a television show or poetry or whatever. We have the ability to distribute it. And so now it's not just our friends and our family and other people close to us sharing it. We can share it with the world. And then it's up to you to get the audience, but you at least have the ability now to share it where we never had that before.
And it makes us want to do it and complete it.
Yes, because why you have to be really, really, really self-driven to complete projects you know that aren't going to be seen. Yeah, I would say that's one problem with me writing a novel. Yeah. It's kind of like I don't have enough belief that it would ever be published and read by more than 2 people.
That would take a lot of self.
And I don't have that level of self-discipline. I can do stuff like this all day because it's immediate feedback.
Yeah.
When my wife was working to become a television writer, someone told her it takes 10 years to become a TV writer.
And it takes your whole life, and you finally get a movie made, and you're 80 years old.
And so I said, along the way, you're going to need some validation. And so I said, why don't you write magazine articles? Why don't you do a book? And that's what kept her going through those 10 years of slogging away trying to be a TV writer, is the little rewards you get along the way. And new media is the same way.
I mean, this is so true. And like blogs. So next time, should we talk about editing? We'll talk about all, any tips you've got, because that's the next phase of once you get the video, you got to do something with it.
So we'll come back to you with another video on editing. And then there's a couple other topics we can talk about too about video. It seems complicated, but people think, well, all I've ever taken is a home movie. Well, guess what? That's a podcast, or can be a podcast.
Yeah.
There are things you can do to make it look better, but you got to get started, because it's only in the seeing what you've done that you can go, oh gosh, I moved the camera around too much. Oh gosh, it sounds really bad. Oh gosh, the lighting was horrible. It's only in doing that you can actually look back and go, oh, well, I can fix that. That just moved the light around, and I can, just put it on a tripod. And there's lots of little things you can do that all of a sudden take you from vomit video, as I said before, at the family Christmas, to something that hopefully you guys enjoy watching.
Okay, so for 2009, just do it. Hey, that's a great phrase.
I love it. I mean, Nike co-opted that from us, but the power is in doing. That's my permutation.
The power that is the Doug Welch way. The power is in doing. Okay,
that's what I tend to say. For more information on these shows and much, much more, visit New Media Interchange at newmediainterchange.com. And be sure to check out our new community site, where we have all sorts of discussions, place you can post your videos and your audios and your pictures and have discussions with us at community.newmediainterchange.com.